darling.
Hey, back for another week. Back in our happy place.
We are. We do love coming to the studio.
How was the weekend?
And what do we love to do most of all? We love hearing people's stories.
We certainly do.
And secondly, we love to share them with all of you guys.
And I'd like to hear your story a bit too, Di. You know, because it's funny, we see one another so often, but then when we haven't seen each other for the weekend, we're going, you actually said I missed you. And I was like,
I actually did.
I missed you.
And then she said, I saw you 2 days. I said, I know, I missed you. It's kind of mad. But I did go away for the weekend. That's probably why. It was lovely. Just with the new partner.
It's not new anymore, really.
No, it's coming up to a year. Yeah. Yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah, so that's nice. Yeah.
But yeah, like...
it's nice seeing you happy.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier at the moment. I've got a few other things going on, but I couldn't be happier. Yeah, it's just great.
Yes.
It's like the universe shining a light on me, baby. Whoa. Shining a light.
Shining a light. Oh, that is so good.
So what have you been up to?
Look, I've been out and about and kind of busy and social as well, but I also went to a really great event and we're big supporters of the Northern Beaches Women's Shelter. Yeah. And we had Narelle Hand on. So go back and listen to that one. That was back in this season 3.
She's the CEO, isn't she?
CEO, and
amazing woman.
Yeah, so it's actually just really when you're saying shining a light, but it's also shining a light on the importance of speaking about it, domestic violence, and not only just it can be in homes, whatever too, it can be online.
It's true.
And people telling stories, and it was a great function that I went to, so that was a really great thing. I really loved that. Yeah. And then I've been walking my dog, Freddie, and being out and about and loving this sort of time of year, so...
Yeah, it's the sun's shining again, thank God. Yeah, it was funny, I went to a function on Saturday night, and it was really interesting. It was in a pub, and there was, you get middle-aged people hanging out, having din-dins, having a beer, whatever. Big pub. And it was sort of like about, I think, maybe 8:30, 9 sort of thing. And a whole lot of young girls will come in looking hot, just gorgeous, and I'm admiring the dresses, and oh my God, I remember those days, and whatever. I just recall my brain kicking into that, and not jealous having my partner there. Nothing. I kept saying, God, look at this one, like incredible outfits. Anyway, as the night sort of progressed, these 3 women who were just gorgeous. We just got chatting and whatever, and they were sort of middle-aged, and they sort of shared how they all felt that these younger girls had come in to the pub and they felt intimidated almost, and it was like, all I could see from my perspective was they've dulled their lights and that they weren't being true to themselves, and they were running off each other. And I thought, it made me sad, because I thought, God, look at you 3. You have so much to give the world. And what's our motto? It's a new beginning. And I wanted, there was loud music playing, but it sort of stayed with me. And I thought, that's another reason why we started the podcast, Nicola, about inspiring women.
I think it is.
50s,
it's interesting
60s.
You say that, because, you could talk to those young girls who are all dressed up or whatever, but once you speak to them, look, they could have their own insecurities. They could feel, and they could be looking up at women of our age and going, wow, I want to be like that. So I think it's all a perspective, it's all a mindset. And some days you feel great, other days you don't. And I think it's good if you can have your friends there to be each other's cheerleaders. Yeah. And sometimes if you have got people who they're in a bit of a downward spiral, and then they're sort of bringing other people feeling that insecurity. But, I love seeing younger women rocking it, women our age rocking it, and people older rocking it.
I get it.
It's all a perspective. It's like, we had Ita Buttrose on, and someone else was saying, a younger journalist was sort of saying to her, going, don't you feel old?
Yeah.
And she's,
Can you imagine saying that?
And she actually said that to Ita.
Seriously?
Yes. And then Ita said, absolutely not. And Ita said, don't you feel that way? She said, and I loved it, because Ita then just said, an 18-year-old, she said, no, well, I'm not old, I'm in my 30s. Yeah. And then Ita said, well, an 18-year-old might just think
you're
that.
old.
So
payback.
To me, it's energy, and it's sort of like, so anyhow, it's good to see.
But basically, the moral to this story is, to be honest, is...
celebration.
Just be aware of shining your light. Don't lose your energy. Don't lose your power, girls. Maintain that and flip the mindset, because we're given one life, and it's all about making the most of that life. And by making the most of that life is turning the gremlins in your mind to something a little bit more positive. And it can be so simple, a flip of a lid, placing in something positive and go out and have time of your life. And what did my mum say? Over 90, she said, I can say and do what I want. Be empowered. And yet we've got your back, guys. Nick and I have got your back. We really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also I think so the antidote to that is also just stop worrying about anyone else there. Just enjoy your own company
said.
and get on the dance floor rocking it. Because, you never can be.
Absolutely.
So I think that's
I think you nailed it.
I really do.
Stop worrying about everyone else. Just come back to you.
Yeah, come back to you. Well, I want to know who we're coming on
Woo!
to now. Who is his next guest?
Well, it's ridiculous how excited we are.
We are
about
so
this.
excited.
It's actually funny.
Well, you get a book. You get a book, and I
yes.
actually went through it again this morning.
Yeah, well, it's
knowing this was coming on.
It's not a big, huge
and I
book, which
forgot
is
how
easy
much
reading.
I laughed the first time. So it's very funny.
It's very funny. Well, with a name like, guys, you ready for it? Shitty Grit is the name of the book. If that's not going to make you laugh, I don't know what will. So let's have a chat about Claire Parkinson. She began her career as a prison officer in the UK, working at the front lines of human dynamics at its most intense. Those experiences gave her a profound insight into what motivates people and how to transform even the most challenging environments into efficient, impactful, functioning systems. At 30 years of age, she became the head of operations for all prisons and probation in London, overseeing 9,000 staff.
Jeez.
And 33,000 inmates.
Wow. Is that all?
Like, these are things that's taboo, things we don't know about, like how many people are actually in prisons. It's remarkable. From there, Claire moved, believe it or not, to South Australia.
Yay, lucky us.
Had an opportunity to work within the prison system before stepping into the mining sector, where she helped lead a $9.6 billion merger between two major global corporations. Claire has written her memoir, as I mentioned, Shitty Grit, which at its core captures the remarkable journey that has shaped her. Welcome, Claire.
Whoa, welcome to the back fence, Claire. Well, that is quite as an intro, and really, it's amazing. And as I said before, we love the book. But just straight up, Shitty Grit. Why? What is it? What's with the name?
Well, the book took about 8 years to write, and originally I called the book Where I Go Ego, because when I started it in my 40s, I translated a lot of my journey as my ego pushing me forward. And then, I came into my 50s and thought, actually, no, it's not my ego. I've been through a lot of shit and I've had to have a lot of grit. And I was like, shitty grit. It was that simple.
You nailed it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I looked at it and went, I don't know. And then, you open the book and you unravel so much, not only about your life, but as Nicola just said, I was belly laughing through it.
Yes.
And look, Nicola and I often fall back on humour.
Yeah.
Humour is a great gift.
It certainly is.
And in your challenging career, you're lucky to fall back on humour. And let's go back to days of growing up in a small English town called Haverhill in Suffolk, and your dad, he had an incredible sense of humour.
Yeah, my dad was a long-distance truck driver, so he always travelled on his own in his cab. So when he'd stop off at he used to have this thing called a tachograph that he used to have to hand fill in every day, and he used to have to stop off somewhere to do that in proper light, and he had to meet people. And, when you're a truckie on the road, you've got to have something about you to engage with other truckers. If you're not funny, you're not going to have any interaction the whole week you're away. So he just learned how to be really funny, I think, and engage with people. He was great and hilarious all the time.
And how was it growing up for you? Tell us some of the stories from teenage years and life. What happened?
So I think I had a pretty normal childhood, normal in the way that, we lived in council housing, which is social housing here, and it was a state of maybe 1,000 houses. It was built by London Borough Council overspill, so when London got too fat, they sent people out to the surrounding areas. Haverhill was one of those towns that took on people. So it was a really close-knit community. It was really safe. And, you know, we were mischievous, but we weren't heavy criminals. You know, on the way to school, it'd be milk bottles on the doorsteps, and we'd take the silver off, drink the cream, put the silver back on.
I did that.
Oh, just survival of the fittest, right? Or you'd scrump apples off the neighbour's tree. It was harmless crime.
Yes. It's kids also being kids too,
Yes.
isn't it? You know, and it's good, better than being on the games and on, you know.
So, yeah,
Well said.
no
I
telly.
totally agree with that.
You know, when you left school, you didn't generally meet your friends again unless you went round to knock for them. And you'd go to the tree camps, you'd build tree houses, you'd jump rivers, you'd play in the sewage on shopping trolleys. You'd do things that, you know, probably now those areas would have fences so high that no one will ever get in or out of them again. But it was fun. I had a great childhood. And then boys came into the picture.
Wow. Yeah,
I love the way you say that.
Teenage
Then they
years,
came
because you
in.
tell something about, is it the Love Mountain or something like that?
Yeah,
What was the one about kissing
love
boys?
the Love Mountain.
Tell us about that.
Did you listen to, I
the
related
same.
to so much about kissing boys.
So the Love Mountain was essentially a hill that was covered in grass. It was off the side of a sewage plant. I think it was probably waste that had just grown weeds and grass. And us kids loved it because it was the only access we had to hills. You know, we had lots of grass playing areas that were flat, but we could go up there and hide and kiss boys and no one would see us. So the Love Mountains was just that. You know, as soon as, you know, there was a twinkle in one's eye for the opposite sex, I was like, game on, let's go to the Love Mountains.
Who's the guy you used to test the kissing on?
Oh, he was my first boyfriend. Well, not really my first boyfriend. He was just someone who used to offer his services and we just used to queue and kiss him.
Okay, so lots of girls are queuing up to practice kissing.
Yes.
I love that.
That's so funny.
Yes.
He must have been, you know, proud of himself.
Well, I think we were too young. I mean, we would have been, I don't even know, maybe not even teenagers, way too young. And he was just good looking, you know, in a young way. I mean, at that age, none of us were even remotely changing hormonally. We were just kids. And we'd obviously heard that kissing was a thing that adults do. So,
But you know what?
The Love Mountains.
But Claire, you know what I love? You can just sort of see, I sort of gauged from very early on in the book, a real competitive or something, determination in you, even from then when you were a teenager, because you're going, right, I want to kiss him the longest than anyone
totally.
else. Is that right?
I remember reading that.
And I was thinking, well, that's a real indication. Is that sort of like a bit of an indication to who you really are, the spirit and inner Claire?
And where did that come from too? Do you think that's sort of, as Nicola's saying, that competitive?
I couldn't win in athletics at school. I was never first at anything. And oftentimes I wasn't second. First was always Lorna, and second was always Lorraine. Not that I've got issues about it.
The two L's.
But they were like machines. So I could never ever run like that. I was never going to be the front running beauty at school. There was always someone who was better. That was Michelle. Not that I've got issues with Michelle either much. So I was like, okay, I wanted to be one of those that I saw as cool. They were good at something. You know, like now, when my daughter was just finished school, and it was, you know, for kids on athletics were one gang. You know, kids that wore a lot of makeup were another gang. You know, they have different kind of popular gangs now.
Yeah.
Those days it was, I'd say, a lot more wholesome. You know, sport. And good looks, maybe not wholesome after all.
50% pre-internet too.
Yeah, pre-internet. So I had to try and win at what I could. And kissing is something...
Tick the box on that one and tell us...
Did you win?
Obviously.
Yeah. And then
I'll have you know.
And then tell us about, because you
love
say
it.
in the book about, honestly, I did laugh because you wrote it there about when you lost your virginity.
Oh my goodness! Well, I only did that because my best friend at the time had done it without consulting with me.
Oh, Johnny!
Unheard of. I'm
So
sorry.
I had no warning that she was going to share that, and I was like, who with? Like, who? And
She
she told
beat
me
you to it.
She told me who with, and I was like, Went home that night thinking, I wonder if he'd do the same for me. Of course he did. So we arranged to go and walk his dog.
And?
He didn't let go of the dog lead. And it was wholly underwhelming. And
Surprise.
and I was like,
Surprise.
I was like, really? What? That was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 16, you fall pregnant.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Particularly exiting the back door when Dad came home.
That wasn't the guy with the dog.
No.
No. He was just
She
once.
was young.
Yes. So I was only 16 and I was a skinny little thing and I was getting increasingly dark around the eyes and tired and I felt lethargic and unwell and I couldn't understand why. So I made an appointment to see our local GP. In those days, one GP was the whole family GP, so we knew them well for many, many years. It was a little bit awkward, but I thought I'll go down and see him. And he said, up on the bed, Claire. I popped on the bed and he literally felt my stomach. And I knew he wasn't checking for an appendix because I'd already had that out. And I was like, what's he doing with my tummy? I've told him I've got flu-like symptoms. And he said, you're pregnant. And I was like, like, kind of what?
How do you spell that?
And he said, I think you might be quite far advanced. We need to give you a scan and just work this out. And I was like, I was tiny. I was a size 8. I mean, I had no clue. My periods hadn't stopped. Had I been, reliable with my pill taking? Obviously not. So I went back that afternoon, had a scan, and she said, congratulations, you're 18 and a half weeks. And I was like, oops. So,
So you're at school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the father of the child, you told him, obviously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rang him and told him, and he was, very sweet, as much emotional maturity as you expect with two 16-year-olds. Living in the place we lived, it's quite a naive, enclosed town, so we didn't have exposure to even London. So I rang him up and I said to him, I'm pregnant, and he kind of went quiet and he went, oh, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, how am I going to tell my parents? Like, and he's like, oh, you do whatever you need to do, and I've got you. Whatever you need to do. And I had the scan booked that afternoon, and him and his mum had thought it best, and I agree. In hindsight, thought it best that he didn't attend the scan, and that this be exclusively a decision for me.
His mother sounded like a wise woman in many ways.
She was, yeah. She was, and so I went for the scan on my own, and then kind of, I don't know, because there was no limited emotional maturity there, I don't think I realised the enormous magnitude of this.
I get that.
So
it's hard. It's sort of kind of impossible. You have to live it, don't you?
Yeah. And so I was literally just going along blissfully naive about the future. I had no clue. I hadn't even thought about the future before that day.
So you told Mum?
I went home and told Mum.
But you hadn't told Dad?
Dad was away at the time.
Right. So just fill us in on running out the back door and how that came about.
Yeah, so Dad normally came home on a Friday, maybe about 6 o'clock, and Dad had got a regular medical appointment. To this day, I have no clue what it was for, but he got a regular medical appointment, and Mum had decided that it would be the best way of dealing with this news if the family doctor told my dad while he was at that appointment. So, we knew my dad had this appointment or whatever time it was, and we literally were just waiting for him to come home.
Oh God!
And then he pulled up out the front, and he came in the front door, and I bolted out the back. I wouldn't say I'm scared. I wasn't scared of my dad. I respected him so much.
I thought that. Yeah.
I was afraid I would see disappointment in his eyes.
You'd heard him, yeah.
And Mum had already said, we're not going to have a baby in this house.
Oh.
So I already knew what the outcome was going to be. And, so I went out the back door.
And where did you go?
I went to the phone box and rang Max. He came and got me.
It was the boyfriend, father.
Yeah,
Yes.
he came and got me, and I went to stay at his place the first night, and then I just blissfully cruised sofas and a car and doorways, avoiding going home.
So you didn't go to school then?
No.
What a hard period of time for you, because you'd be thinking, was your parents sort of searching for you then?
No, I think they. It's hard. I don't know. I think about it sometimes, and I love my parents and I have a great relationship with them, and I try and reflect on that period of my life. Now I have an 18-year-old who lives with me at home, and I look at her and I'm like, could I? If she said to me, I'm pregnant, Mum, could I say to her, you don't have a home here? And I couldn't say that to her. However, I also know if she come home pregnant, I'd ring up her dad, who doesn't live with me, but we're good friends. I'd ring him up and I'd say to him, she's pregnant. Oh, the impact on our life now. We're going to have to look after the child while she goes to uni. So I understand. They were looking forward to retirement.
I get that.
Yeah. And
So
it happened a fair bit, really, didn't it, in
ruined
those
that
days
life
then?
so much.
It was
Yeah,
very
so
much
much,
the
Nicola.
of the time.
So you have the baby. What transpires then?
So I have the baby and...
Little boy.
Yes, I have a little boy. And we have been given a home to rent off Max's mum. And we
She's come
stayed
through again.
She really has.
Yes.
Yeah, she has. We had a little 2 up, 2 down listed cottage in a village out of town, and we lived in there shortly before he was born, and then we stayed in there. I wouldn't say blissfully. Having a newborn's hard. Having a newborn as very young teenagers is insurmountable.
Scary.
Running a home.
Did your mum see you baby?
My mum kept a respectful distance, but she was on call.
Oh, that's nice
Because
to know.
we didn't drive because we weren't old enough.
No.
So, and we lived in a village, so occasionally I'd say, Mum, I've got no money, can you help me? And she'd buy nappies. But I didn't see Dad.
So let's jump ahead. When did you introduce the beautiful boy to Dad?
Oh, he'd been introduced because they were there when I went to hospital because they had to take me to hospital to give birth.
So Dad's finally seen you, well, with the baby, literally.
Yeah.
And how was he? Fabulous?
It was an awkward moment. We hadn't spoken for a time.
I thought that.
My parents, I'd rang them when I was in labour. Because we lived in the middle of nowhere, couldn't get a taxi in the early hours of the morning. It was covered in, I think it might have even been icy. Maybe it wasn't. Could have been icy. And I had to get them to come and get us. Yeah. And Max had like a little Honda Fizzy motorbike, little 50cc. So he followed Mum and Dad's car, and we just went in silence.
Interesting.
And then when we got to hospital, they were parents of a child having a child, and I can't fathom the worry they would have been going through, the mixed emotions they would have been going through, knowing that society would predict I had ruined my life, and they were there at the birth of their first grandchild, knowing that the person they had high hopes for was statistically ruining her life, because that's what society said I was doing.
Yes.
So I can understand
and
all
also,
what they would have been going through.
It's interesting, Claire, because especially back those two, with your parents didn't say anything as well, and they also they wasn't the facilities. Now, even now, people have they can have like the words to express themselves. There's counselling, there's support. That you would have got all that, whereas you really, it sounds like you're just running blind.
Yeah, nothing.
So your parents were, you were, how that's all changed too.
Frightening for a young girl.
Yeah, so what happens after that? So with you and your boyfriend?
So we moved into the house, and, both young people, both just come out of school, newborn baby. He'd got himself an apprenticeship with a family friend, so he, was on the road to having a career, and I was at home with the baby. And, I think it's fair to say that the issues that society would probably predict for us started playing out. So, we started bickering, and you know what it's like when you argue with your spouse, when you're arguing with your teenage children and teenage children are arguing with you can only imagine. So we just were no longer compatible.
Right.
So after, I reckon, he was about 20 months old when I finally said, I'm leaving. And I only owned I'd got rid of my twin tub for the terry towel in nappies. I'd progressed to a front-loading washing machine, so I was progressing in life. I thought it was really cool. I had a front-load washing machine, and
Where did you go? Where did you go?
I went back to my parents.
You did? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I contacted Mum and said, can you guys come for a walk with me and James? Can you come for a walk with us at my favourite place, which is called Wandlebury, which my dad used to take me to when I was little. We used to look for Roman coins. We used to find old broken bits of water pipe, and he used to tell me they were Roman pottery. And so it was a very special place for us as a family. So I said, can we go there? And while I looked ahead, and James was running through the long grass with his white blonde curly hair, which may not surprise you. I looked at Dad and said, I really need to come home, Dad, because I couldn't go anywhere else.
Did you hug him?
Yeah.
We didn't hug.
I think I want they lived happily ever after.
She wants the whole hallmark.
I do, don't I? Seriously.
Because
I'm so caught up in
He
this.
held my arm and
Nice.
he said, of course you can.
Yeah, that's lovely, because it doesn't always work that way either,
God, no.
as we know.
I actually don't know what I'd have done. There was no plan B. I don't know what I would have done. Probably stayed in a really unhappy relationship, and that's, we know where all that goes, right?
Yeah, like we're talking about with domestic violence, not saying that would have ended that way, but it's sort of on the cards with things, happening.
So career.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you go? So you work, you're at home, and then did you get a job, or what? Tell us how things progressed in the world of Claire.
Yeah. So I had no qualifications. And no aspirations, if you like, for betterment. I just wanted to earn whatever I could earn so I could buy nice sneakers or trainers, if anyone's listening in England, nice trainers and nice clothes for my son, and pay my mum a bit of rent. That was pretty much it. So I worked in servos, I cleaned toilets, I was a housekeeper, I was a nanny, I delivered Yellow Pages, I was an Avon lady, some of them all at the same time.
I was looking through the jobs there. I was just going to say, it's quite extraordinary and good for you.
Yeah.
Just going through so many different things.
I had to earn money. I had to
have kissing that boy the longest, and then getting all these different jobs, hard-working.
Go.
And I delivered Yellow Pages once. I had about 600 in my car, and I swear my car drove on two wheels because I put them all in the back. I used to get, I
remember them. They're so big.
I think I got 10 pence at the time per Yellow Pages, and they were big and fat, not like they are now.
And then did you get sort of the chance with, living at home with your parents, did you get the chance then, when you're younger, then all of a sudden, find yourself and have a bit of a party girl time? Did that happen then? Or was it a bit later?
Yeah, no, selfish Claire came in quite early.
Tell us about that.
So she came in, I would say 19. Which is when I moved back to my parents. So I had no party lifestyle, obviously, the baby through to 19. And then went back to mum and dad's and selfishly saw an opportunity for a babysitter in-house, and then started the party scene. So the party scene for me wasn't, a gentle entry in. It wasn't like going to the pub and having a glass of beer and then going home, because all of my friends, my cohort, had done that without me. They'd progressed to hardcore clubbing in the West End of London, driving 2 hours on a night out, participating with drugs. It had matured.
You had to catch up.
I literally had to ignore all the stuff that led into that and go straight into hardcore party scene. So I did, in a big way, and had a great time, dare I say it. Poor mum, and probably poor organs at some point in my life. But yeah, I mean, I was.
And how wild were you? Because you're pretty much a wild child, weren't you?
Yeah, I was pretty wild.
Just like your gorgeous hair. Wild child. I love it. We love her hair. Yeah.
I was, how wild was I? Well, I went on
on a level of
no
1
need
to
to
10.
blush. It's all in the book.
We've been wild in our lives.
Yeah,
don't worry,
I was
Claire.
pretty wild. I was pretty
Well,
wild.
as you said, you got to kiss a few frogs,
Yeah,
and there certainly were
and a
quite
lot of
a few.
catching up to do too.
A lot of
Nicola.
catching up.
Yeah.
You're young, and
Yeah.
I once went out in London with somebody who I thought might be a little bit shady. So I went out on my own, and if my daughter did this, I would kill her. I changed my eye colour. I wore green contact lenses. I wore a wig and wore an outfit I'd never, ever consider wearing and pretended I was Russian.
How did you speak Russian?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you didn't talk much. Or after
she
a
said
few
she didn't
drinks,
speak English.
I probably sound a bit Russian.
He wasn't interested in my voice at all.
But she said I'm Russian.
Well,
yeah,
so you
pretty
really
much.
Wow,
wanted
that's
to sort of change, really explore who you were and just become different characters than that mother who
That's
was still
exciting.
living at home.
Yeah.
The reality was you were still living with mum and dad.
Yeah.
You had a young child, and
Yeah.
things were tough,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and then
Very
you could have
tough.
this life that you could then put the wig on and.
I
you
just
know.
wanted to figure out what path I was going to take, and I didn't know, there wasn't a path readily available for me because I had taken the odd path, so I wasn't on a path.
Yes.
So I had to figure out what I love, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what earns me money, what doesn't, what makes me laugh, what keeps me safe. I literally had to grow up as a wild person because I'd been off the radar as a mum and pregnant for 3 years from school.
So let's talk about the path. Let's talk about this magnificent path, the choice of air hostess versus prison officer.
Yeah.
And how did that come about? Was that by chance too?
Yes.
Which is amazing. I love sliding door moments, Di.
So I was, I had hunted for a social house to move into and hounded the council, and they eventually succumbed to my pressure and gave me a council house. So me and James now live on our own. And I'm sat there thinking I need to get a job. I could hear mum in the back of my head saying, grow up, get a proper job, grow up. And she wasn't wrong. Go up, get a proper job. And then the letterbox rattled. Because in the UK, letterboxes are in the front doors, right? Not like here.
Yeah.
So the letterbox rattled, and a newspaper fell on the floor, and it was a Daily Mail. And I'd never read the Daily Mail. If I was ever going to read a paper, it would be the News of the World or the Sun, because it's got lots of pictures in it, And I like the pictures, to be honest. I'm not one for reading blah. Anyway, blah came
Says the
through
author.
the door. Oh, I know, right? I know. Well, yes, it's not.
Yeah.
It's colourful. It was entertaining writing it. So I lay on the floor thinking, okay, I'll show you. I'll get a effing job. And I opened it to the classifieds where the jobs are, and there was 2 jobs: Virgin Atlantic air hostess, which definitely appealed to me. Definitely appealed to the ego side. You had to be a certain height. You got taught how to put makeup on nicely. A certain weight. Which is not the case now, I know, but those days it was. And then there was a prison officer, and I thought, okay, I'll apply for both, but I hope I get the air hostess really. But the prison officer paid really well. It was 14.
And it wasn't too far away, the prison, too.
No, it was like 8 miles away. So I applied for both and got them both.
Oh.
So
But
you
when I
got the skills
Yeah,
too. So
love
you've
it.
got the people PR
Determined.
skills.
But when I got them both, I was currently working in Greece because I'd gone away to Greece. I know, because I decided I was going to be a travel guide
And they were pretty wild days too in the book, with so much you can sort of talk about, but also was the 18, those, a bit like the Kentucky or whatever, but on steroids, really.
Kentucky,
18 to 30s, and it was just sort of like, honestly, it was like a shag fest.
Yeah.
Really, wasn't it?
Yeah, not the beer fest.
It's the shag fest.
So you decide to go down you give air hostessing the flick, and did it come down to money?
It was money.
Yeah, okay.
It was £1,000 a year more, and it was £14,000 and a couple of hundred.
I could have done the sliding doors myself. I never actually went for the prison guard thing, but I tell you what, it would have paid better probably.
I'm not saying you're not, but she's too gorgeous. So tell us about that experience. Firstly, had you ever been into a prison before?
Never. I didn't know anybody in prison.
So tell us about walking into a prison for the first time and saying, okay, this is my career. What was that like?
It wasn't that.
Okay,
I didn't experience that because
I'm experiencing. I had never walked into a prison. Isn't that bizarre?
So the first time I went into a prison was while I was away on training, and I went into Wakefield Prison, which is a dispersal prison, which in summary terms is Category A, the people that absolutely under no circumstances can escape or be released into the public. So,
the worst of the worst, really.
Talk about throwing you in the deep
terrorists,
end. Bloody hell.
And they took us in there as
kind of good. She's naive, like not having that
new
fear.
recruits, and we went into Wakefield Prison, and they took us straight to the segregation unit, which is where the worst of the worst of the worst in the worst are stored. Stored is a bad word. They are alive, mostly, where they were kept. And there was this one guy, I'd never heard of him. They took us and they wouldn't even open his cell door. He'd been in prison for years and years and years at that point. And they said, his name's Charles Bronson, but he wasn't called Charles Bronson. He changed his name by Depot. He was only in for burglary years back, but had then taken people hostage. And anyway, he's still in prison now from that very short sentence, maybe 30, 40 years ago. I mean, they've made a movie about him. So anyway, they've got this Charles Bronson dude, and they've opened the hatch, and he's got these like 3 little bars, like you see in the movies, there. And he just seemed normal, and he was talking, and he was doing some drawings. He's quite a known artist, because that's what he did, or what he's done while he's been in custody. And I'm like, can you open his door? And they said no. I'm like, why? Like, why can't you open his door?
You've just done a course at this stage and walked into this prison. Okay, just setting the scene again, right?
Yeah,
can you open the door? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't.
I would have run by now, yeah.
No, you can't. And he's busy doing a drawing and handing the drawing through to one of the recruits. I didn't want his drawing. I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to kind of know, why did he take a hostage? Is he getting married? How does he feel about serving life in prison despite only being sentenced to a few years? Like,
it's the journalist in you.
Yeah.
That's another career.
And inquisitive. And
his door was like maybe 20 inches thick. Like, this is how dangerous this dude is, right? Anyway, so that was my first prisoner.
So they didn't open the door?
Oh, God, no. They
and
wouldn't.
How did he respond?
He was polite and friendly. Yeah, but I didn't get enough of him. Everybody else was just like, and I was like, but I want to interview him.
This is remarkable.
But it's also, I guess you're trying to also know what's behind all the fear. You're kind of going in there. It's a bit like, before you have a kid, you don't even know what's going to happen, so you're going into jail.
Innocence is bliss.
That's true.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and then so that was while I was on the training. And then when I came out of training,
didn't you get kicked out of training?
I did.
What happened?
Kicked out of training.
Why?
How long was the training for?
12 weeks.
What did you do? Come on, Claire.
I slept with
was the wild child back?
Who was it?
I can't tell you. But let's just say
you busted, obviously.
I got busted. I got back squatted. But thankfully, I got back swatted, and then they put me onto a different course to finish my last 2 weeks, because I was 2 weeks off finishing.
Yeah.
And then they sent me off to a place called Newbold Revel, and I went there and finished my 2 weeks training, which was awful, because I'd just spent 10 weeks enjoying myself.
Yes.
Anyway, that was probably the right decision they made. I was still very much living in Kon-Tiki mode.
Yes.
So the wild
I
child.
was, and it was in Wakefield, and Wakefield is a really good party town. So it was away from home, and
Just
party.
catching up on these lost years,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, I definitely made up for those lost years.
Where was the first prison that you
So I went
sent
to
to
a place
for
called
work?
High Point Prison, which is in Suffolk, in the east of England. My first assignment was on the north side of the prison, which at the time was female prisoners. So I walk in and we get the brief, welcome to the team, yada, yada, yada. And Claire, you are assigned to the segregation unit. And I was like, so they must have observed when I was in Wakefield in the segregation unit and decided where I was going to be assigned.
Interesting.
So that's literally just dropped
seriously.
right here now. I just thought that. I'd like to think that was something to do with my skill.
Yeah.
It could just be little guy in there. So I went in to the segregation unit, and then you look up on the roll board with the names of the women that were in there. There was only 3 at the time, up to I think there was 8 beds in there, and beside the prisoner name and number, it would have the cell number, and then it would have the personal officer. So of course I'm looking at the board. I knew of nobody that was in High Point Prison. Look at the board and it's like Myra, Hindley, personal officer, Claire Parkinson.
Oh.
I'm like, fucking A.
For the
get Myra.
listeners,
tell her-
can you
tell-
tell
yeah.
them, describe
People
what
don't know
she
who
did in
Myra
order
is.
to end
So
up a
Myra
lifer?
Hindley is, or was, the most infamous, notorious child killer in arguably Britain's history.
And you had to look after her.
Yeah, Ian Brady
You took
and
a deep
Myra
breath, so
Hindley.
did I.
How old are you, Claire?
26.
26, okay.
And she had been in prison
I'd be
over
scared.
30 years at that point.
So she's, what do they say, incarcerated? What do they say when someo's been there
Completely
a lot?
institutionalised.
Institutionalised, right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and everybody knew Myra Hindley. If you
Yes.
ever see an eye fit of an old picture, black and white, of a woman who's in prison,
Yes.
always Myra. She's iconic in a infamous kind
So
of
tell us, what would
notorious
you
way.
do? Like, what's
Yeah.
a day in the life of a, patrol
Of
officer?
Claire with
Claire.
Myra.
Yes.
Claire with Myra.
Yeah.
I mean, Myra must have just rolled her eyes
Yeah.
and went, "Oh God, here comes
Yeah.
another one."
Yeah.
So I'd turn up, pick my keys up from the gatehouse. I'd walk through to the segregation unit, and we'd get the tea trolley ready. So for breakfast. So we'd literally make a big jug of hot water, and put it on a trolley, and then we'd have the breakfast, whatever it would be, toast, cereal in a bag, blah 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 blah, and we would just call the girls out, open the doors one at a time, and they'd come and get their breakfast. And then a couple of hours later, it would be outdoor exercise. They were segregated, so they had to exercise in a really confined area, so nobody else could get to them.
So
and
you're the
vice
only one
versa.
in her life, essentially.
Oh, there
'Cause she
there
was-
was a team of about
Staff,
yeah,
but
si-
no one else.
Is it like
Visitors.
the movies, Claire? You
Oh,
know how
she
you
would
sort
get
of
visitors.
see...
She would get visitors.
Oh, that's
she
nice.
actually she had a lot of people that used to advocate for her because, arguably, she was a political prisoner. Arguably, people on her sentence would have been released at some point in her life. She was a natural lifer. So there were a lot of people that used to come and lobby for her. Quite famous people as well. Yeah, so she had supporters. Majority.
Because she was there for so long, was
Because
it?
she was being held, yeah.
Right. But what's it actually like? Just give us a picture of sort of, is it women? Because you see these, from Prisoner and all these different movies we see, and they're so popular.
Yeah.
But you see like women screaming at one another and being nasty and all that stuff there. Is that what it's like? Or what's it? Set a scene of
sometimes.
what it's like.
Yeah, some working in female prisons is definitely an acquired taste. I did it for a year, and I literally was get me out
Is
of
it a
here.
scary
So
place?
you preferred
like,
men's prisons to women's prisons. Isn't that astounding?
Yeah,
Tell us why.
The women have... So most of the women are primary carers. So they have their own children. So I saw a lot of myself in them. And sometimes it's really hard to work with women when you know they have not been a particularly wholesome parent, as a parent. And sometimes I don't want to be a judgy person, and I didn't want some of their histories to impact me negatively in life either. You can become jaded. And yeah, they can be really awful. Like really awful. I mean, women rape women in prison. It's a thing. We don't hear about it.
Do they?
But it happens. Yeah,
Frequently?
They can be cruel. I wouldn't say frequently, but there's a lot of bad stuff happen. Women can be cruel.
And is there like a queen bee system? Like you've normally got one just protects, like you see in the movies, one new person comes in.
Like
and
you said, prisoner.
all those ones come in and it's like, I'll look after you, love.
Yeah,
yeah. I'd say probably yes to some degree.
Yeah.
But not just one.
No.
Like they'll have wings and houses where they live, and there'll be someone that's, good at facilitating a meeting.
And tell us the wild story that happened. Wasn't there one where they
On the
escaped
roof.
or something like that?
On
Tell
the
us
roof.
that, what happened, Claire.
Oh, the girls on the
Share
roof.
that one.
So
It's a book in that,
Yeah,
The Girls
exactly.
on the Roof.
Yeah, so I had decided that I put my hand up for everything because I wanted to get promoted. And one of the things I put my hand up for was to be a hostage negotiator. And I loved it. It was the best course I've ever done in my life, hands down. And so I'd got this ticket, if you like. I could be a hostage negotiator. And when you go into
cool.
work,
Yeah.
you have like a little tally on your keys that was, I think it was orange, that basically meant when they saw the keys on the roll board, they knew that Claire was on, she's got an orange tally and she's a hostage negotiator. So these girls go on the roof. It was a sunny day in England, and you know England, you'll know a sunny day is cause to pie. So all of these girls decide they're going to go on the roof, and Claire was the hostage negotiator on duty that day, and I got called out. And so I'm up there, well, not up there, but I'm standing on the ground. The girls are on the roof and they're sunbathing, their tops are out. They've been out for quite some time. And, the Sun media helicopters were coming over. The girls were getting their girls out.
Absolutely.
Flashing.
They were literally having the time of their lives.
Of course they would have been.
And there was no way they were going to come down because
Right.
the sun is so infrequent in the UK. So
Right.
and they only get
Freedom.
freedom, totally freedom. And the people in the cells beneath the roof were swinging lines up. So you basically roll up sheets, tie them in a knot, and then tie, I don't know, a can of Coke to the end of it, hang your hand out the window and get a momentum on, and then swing up to the roof. So the girls are getting fed, they're getting watered.
Oh, that's the best.
They've got jumpers going up, their blankets. They literally are not coming down. They're having the time of their lives.
It's their holiday.
Yeah. So I'm talking to them for quite some time, and as a hostage negotiator, my job isn't to tell them to come down. It's to keep them engaged, build a rapport, while the big end of town that is secretly in a gold command suite somewhere is working out what the intervention plan is going to be. Are we going to go up there? How long are we going to leave them? Yada, yada, yada. Are our staff safe? So I'm talking away, and the girls are giggling on the roof, and I'm like, yeah, nothing, no helicopters around, great. And then all of a sudden, this thing comes flying down towards me, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? Anyway, I'm like, okay, it's just toilet paper, it's no big deal. And then another one comes down and hits me straight on the shirt, the white prison officer shirt. And I've looked down, and it's crap.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
So they had decided, because they'd had origami lessons, they'd learned how to make a paper bomb.
Oh no! So they were
Didn't
doing.
you initiate
they
that?
were doing. Now I'm
So
getting
I
this
think-
title
I
of
think-
this book.
Yeah.
Shitty grit.
Yeah,
Oh, I get it.
So they had
In every sense of that
they
word.
had shat
Oh no!
Wow.
Oh,
in
yuck.
an origami paper
Oh
bomb
Claire,
box.
that's terrible.
Have they had time to think about these things?
They had a lot of time, and they were
But
squealing
you've earned
like
your
hyenas.
money,
They
haven't
were
you?
having
Hysterical.
the
You wanted
time
that
of
job
their
with the
lives.
extra pay.
So you are 1 year in the women's prison.
Yes.
Then you move on to, is it your request, to a male prison?
Oh no, I
or
asked.
was that part?
Yeah, you have an
did,
opportunity.
And so tell
Yeah.
us some of the stories about the male prison.
Yeah.
What's sort of sort
Where
of
was
better?
that? Whereabouts was the...
Same. It was
okay,
High Point South.
Okay, got
So
it.
there was the north and the south. The
I love
south
it.
was
And
the
could
men.
you joke with the guys a bit more, or
It was like, to me,
Yeah.
I mean, I was young, 26,
Yeah.
right? And quite naive, actually. I may have had a baby, but I was also a little bit sheltered. So when I got over there, the male prisoners were like, 27-year-old.
Yeah.
So of course I used to get
easy on the
I was
eye?
going to say
Yes,
that.
I used to get a little bit of noise, and
The
some
wolf
of
whistles.
yeah, I used to get a bit of that. and some of it, not healthy at all. And the first roll call I did on my own was on what we call basic regime. And that would have around 100 prisoners on it locked up for 23 hours a day. So those are the midway prisoners. So these are the prisoners that are not mainstream prisoners. They have been a bit naughty, not naughty enough to go to the segregation unit, but naughty enough that they need to have their regime curtailed. So their basic regime, lock up 23 hours a day, oftentimes no TV. So it's pretty hardcore, although it's only for a few weeks. So they are craving a little bit of entertainment. I think it's probably the most constructive way of saying it.
I like that. It's diplomatic.
Yeah, these are men aged 21 and over, right? So I'd say average age would probably have been maybe 30.
So yeah, all that testosterone too. These young
yeah.
men.
And what about it? What about nicknames for you?
In that, I only got nicknames as governor. I didn't have nicknames.
Oh, that's
as
good.
I probably did, but they didn't tell me because they thought they'd get nicked. So,
what was one of the names in one of the other prisons?
When I was a governor at a prison here in South Australia, I was called Contessa.
Oh, no.
I actually thought was quite genius.
It is genius.
That's funny.
I actually went home and said to the partner at the time, I said, guess what they called me? And he was like, they might have a point. I was like, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Oh, wow. So moving forward then, so you've had this, amazing, how long were you in the prisons for? And then what was your next step from there?
How long were you in the prison system for? That's
97 to 2013.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And then what was the shift?
I just wanted to, if you don't mind, I just want to ask, how was your mental health during that period of time?
Great. It was
because you mentioned word some get jaded.
Yes,
and
I didn't. It just didn't erode me. Like I was really careful in what I exposed myself to.
Good girl.
And I tended not to read crimes, apart from Myra, because everybody knew her, whether you saw it on the computer or not, everyone knew her. Apart from Myra, I tended not to look into people's history. I tended to judge as I saw and treat as they treat me.
That's a really nice way of doing it. Actually, while we're still on it too, now, wasn't there George Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
I mean, you talk about celebrities,
I know.
Is that challenging, having a celebrity in jail?
That's a bloody nightmare.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Tell us what happened with that one.
Yeah.
So we have because it was a London circuit, and so whenever anybody did anything they shouldn't have done, the UK's media are largely all in London. The big courts are in London, and the big local prisons that take from court, the remand centres, are in London. So when you're in charge of operations for London, you always check the court list before the day starts, just to make sure you don't see any
Absolutely.
Naomi Campbell or, break civil fielder because, Amy Winehouse might come to visit. Anyway, this particular day, George Michael pops up. And it's like, that definitely generated the F word.
Yes.
And you might think, it's quite exciting. It's actually the opposite of that, because it brings a media circus. Yeah, it's really hot in here.
I know, yeah. It was just in my eyes, sorry.
I'm sitting here.
That's okay, we'll cut this
bit. Yeah, it's all right, yeah.
So he has his court appearance, he gets sentenced, and he comes to Pentonville prison, and comes in the van from the courts with feels like hundreds of media on motorbikes running on the side of the van, just trying to get the shot of him. And then of course there's the logistics of, you get him into prison, he obviously has to be segregated. He can't be. He's a risk actually. There'll be people who want to have protection money for him. There'll be people who want, the opportunity to stab a celebrity, rape a celebrity, whatever it might be. So, of course, he has to go in the segregation unit. And then, of course, there's the aspect of you have to be really smart about who his care team are. You know, who are not going to get starstruck.
Yes.
You know, and thankfully in London, there's an abundance of those very experienced officers, so we didn't have any problem, just in case anyone.
And how was he? Was he well behaved?
I didn't have. Yeah,
Okay,
he was
yes.
insane. I mean, I had nothing to do with him.
Must have been so embarrassed too, even more so when it's not, you know, like it's on a
Seriously. I mean,
big
honest
scale.
to God. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we could talk prisons, I think, to the
I
cows
know,
come
so
home. But
tell
I do
us
want
then,
to
you
ask.
got- yeah, go.
Oh, no, I just want to ask the most fearful you were in as a prison warden or officer, where you felt that your life might have been endangered. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, it
Tell
did.
us about that.
It did. I was on the basic regime unit, and there's one of the duties of a prison officer is you kind of go into a separate room, much like this actually, and you listen in to random phone calls. So prisoners are making a phone call to whoever from the prison wing, and you'll be able to tap into that call and listen just to make sure there isn't, you know, people that are subject to domestic violence, abusing their victims, drug deals occurring, you know, just stuff that you would expect to occur in that type of environment. So I'm doing that duty one day, sat there in a private room listening, and you know, clicking between the different phone calls that are occurring at that time. You know pretty quickly if they're on the phone to their mum, you can pretty quickly move on. And there was this one particular one, and he was pretty angry. This young man, probably 21, maybe younger actually, might have been classed as an adult prisoner because he was in prison for some really nasty offences, violence, and. I was listening in, and he was really angry and was talking to a woman, and he said, I don't care who's in the house, you find her and you burn the fucking house down. If the kids are there, the better. And I was like, better get out and have a look to see who that is. So I popped my head out the room, and it was a prisoner that a couple of days before I had intersected selling a wrap of heroin and confiscated it off him, and he had just had his hearing and his adjudication, and at the time the adjudicator, the prison governor, could give it added days to your sentence, and he'd got the maximum penalty, which was an additional 42 days at that time. So he'd been imprisoned for an extra arguably 2 months because of me, although it's actually because of him, but not in his eye. In his young mind, it's my fault. And he was talking about me and my home. Yeah.
That's where it's just it's hard to comprehend,
I'm thinking, who's
isn't
this
it?
poor woman? I'm lost in the.
How did you react to that?
Oh, it wasn't great.
Could you get support then? Do you get backing and support?
Oh yeah, I mean we call it ghosting in the prison service in the UK.
Really?
Basically, what that means is he gets lifted and put in a different prison. He gets moved instantly. So he was gone, and the public service moved my house. They moved me.
Really?
Oh, they took it seriously as well.
That's
Gee,
fascinating.
that is scary.
Well, that's good ultimately.
Yeah.
that they take note and follow
because
through.
it really is. I mean, you kind of laugh about that, but it's a tough job, a tough gig,
Oh,
and you certainly earned the big bucks
so
that you need
true.
to. But just now
Yes.
we've got time against us, so just
Always.
tell us. And
Always.
you end up. How did you get to Australia? Was there some DM or a LinkedIn thing? Tell us briefly about that and how that happened.
I got a message through LinkedIn from a CEO of corrections saying, would you be interested in running a prison in South Australia? And I was like, yes, it's sunny. Of course I would. So I said to the lucky number 3, I said, how do you feel about going to Australia? He said, I'm in. I went, great. And then about 2 weeks after that, I went to Singapore to meet with them and have my face-to-face interview. I'd already had a phone interview at that point. And then I met them. They offered me a contract. I sold my house, and within 7 weeks, we were living here.
Well, you're certainly not afraid of
Incredible.
change, are you?
No.
You know, like in all different stages of your life. And then, you know, Australia is such a big difference and a big sort of culture shock or whatever. And then you worked in the Aussie prison. Then how did you have a complete career change? As, you know, Di was saying
Mining.
in the intro there about mining. Tell us about that.
Well, I always kind of like, as a younger person, I always thought that, you know, one day I'd like to live in Australia, but I never thought it would ever happen for me. So prison, well, I was state sponsored to come. So if it wasn't for prison, I would never have been able to come without qualifications. So because I was a prison governor, I was state sponsored, skilled migrant, because there was a shortage here. So I forever prisons. And then I had to stay in that role for 2 years because my visa required it. And I loved it. I loved prison, and I would tell anybody I recommend prison life because seriously.
Would you say it is for a career for somebody?
Oh,
really?
hands
That's
down.
interesting to hear, isn't it?
Fascinating.
It's great to hear
Hands
that.
Hands
Last thing I
down,
think of.
hands down, great career. Loved it. Cannot pick anything
Well, there
bad
you go,
about
guys and girls. It's like, you know, have an open mind to so many things. Like
the
that's
things you
sort of something.
learn, like
And because,
nothing else.
Because
And so-
we're running short of time, I've just wanted to. Can we jump ahead to the merger? How you got involved in mining, and the merger with BHP? Like
Yes.
that. It's something in the book where you go, what?
Yeah.
Claire Parkinson, you are remarkable. Like
So I had to wait my 2 years for my visa to be up, and then I was reading a newspaper.
Again.
here we, she wasn't looking at the pictures.
I was actually
Was
Adelaide
reading the
Advertiser. I
paper.
was
Yeah,
reading,
very impressive.
and it said that there was a mining company that had just relocated its head office from Melbourne to Adelaide, and that it gave a bit of a bio on the CEO, and I read his narrative, and I was like, he talks like a public servant. I always had this really naive view about mining that, you know, it was all blokey, digging holes in the ground, dusty,
same with
dirty.
prisons, in my opinion. but
Yeah,
And you could relate to guys
I thought,
so well.
true.
I
Nothing would
genuinely
scare you.
thought it was culturally limited. I had no clue. And I read this about what this CEO had said, and I was like, whoa, he sounded like what I signed up for as a public servant. You know, he was talking about values, supporting the community, you know, leaving the world in a better place. And I was like, he sounds like somebody I need to meet. So I messaged him through LinkedIn and said, we need to do coffee.
Go. So you've now, I love that. That's a whole sort of like 360. So you've then did the sliding DM to him.
Yes, I did. And he agreed.
That's that good bloke.
Yeah, and I met him, and he told me he couldn't give me a job. And I was like, well, I'm not taking no for an answer.
Yay.
There's the determination.
Yay,
I
I'm
was
loving
like,
this.
Will you be my mentor?
Oh, see, that's
Smart.
gold.
That's another lesson. You're giving us a lot of lessons.
That's really cool.
of never
Yeah.
giving
so
up and
don't
giving an option.
listen to no.
Yeah,
Turn it
no.
around. Can you be my mentor?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And so he said yes.
He said yes. So I
Yay.
saw him every month for a few months, and then he agreed to send me out to a mine with no brief. He'll just send me out and see what I get up to. Obviously, there was someone going
Sink
to
or
meet me at the
swim.
other end.
Yeah. You've done
So
it
I
all your
went out.
life.
I spent
Right on.
half a day there because the flight was out and in, and came back and sat down with all of this information that I'd gathered, speaking to people, observing things around me, having no clue about any of it at all, and then sat there and thought, how am I going to present all of this to him? And I just did a one-page infographic which showed him how he was going to improve the culture of his business through people. And I just handed it across
Magic.
the table, and within a month I was on his exec.
Yay,
how
that is so
magnificent.
good. So it just shows your natural people skills and all those years of working in the prison and everything that you've done there, Claire. And so how long were you working in the mining?
So it would have been 2014 until 2020, November 24.
And
Yeah.
then what did you decide to go, I want to leave or?
Well, Osminerals was the name of the company, and they were purchased by BHP. There was an acquisition, and we had a choice as an exec. You know, you either go over or you don't.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to go over because, you know, we had a lot of staff who needed consistency.
Yes.
So I decided to go over and help with that integration of a company that I adored and was very proud to have been a part of. So I stayed there for about 18 months. And then I thought, I've run the risk of exactly what I did in the prison. I run the risk of earning lots of money, more money than I ever imagined, but actually not living. I was alive, but there was a part of me that wasn't enjoying it as much as I should have. And my daughter was just finishing year 12, and quite frankly, she needed me. I wanted to honour my younger self and finish my book. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to back myself. I'm going to write that and finish it and get it done.
When you say finish it, how many years have you been running?
8.
Well, and then this has been released, what, 6-8 months or something? Is that right?
May.
And tell us with your hair, with the time of releasing, 'cause you've got magnificent hair.
Well, I figured since I put a book out that does not pull any punches, and I'm old enough now to not really care about judgment. It's time that I become...
A woman in her 50s.
Yeah, it's time that I
Watch
become...
out,
prison environment was always tight back, right?
I never got took
Super
seriously
tight,
with
yeah.
anything other than straight hair.
Yeah.
Even the prisoners treated
Yeah.
differently when you've got
So
wild
imagine
hair.
that to what
Yes, they don't take you
we've
seriously.
seen today.
Whereas now it's just so good. So it's like
Free
there's
spirit.
so many things, and you sort of say in the book too, is it that you'd regret all the things? What's you're saying about with regret?
I'd rather
Yes.
regret something I have done than something I haven't.
I love that.
And if I don't do it now, I'm never going to
another
do
one.
it.
Well,
So
There's
we're
another
about
one.
to wrap up, so we can't leave without our
No.
signature questions.
No.
Did you want to?
What makes you happy?
Friendship, the wind in my hair,
What beautiful hair.
full stop.
Yeah, I love
Oh,
that.
wow.
That I love the wind in your hair because literally you can feel like
That's
that.
Yeah.
so great.
That's,
Yeah.
That speaks a thousand
I'm going to
words.
save the
Yeah.
best one for last, but I
Yeah.
do really want to know this, especially with you,
Yeah.
Claire. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self, Claire? Of anybody, you young 20-year-old Claire, and where you are now, what would you say to her, really giving her some words of wisdom?
I'd probably say, keep being you. It's okay. However, your older self is exhausted. So you will exhaust me, but keep being it because I'm loving it.
Yay,
Oh,
that's very positive.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That is positive.
Magnificent. Magnificent. Guys,
So
you've got to
if
get
you
the
could,
book.
I know. So now,
Yeah.
if you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, who would it be? Claire Parkinson, and why?
So it would have to be 2 people, Jennifer Lawrence
Oh,
and Melissa McCarthy, because I want Jennifer Lawrence to play young Claire.
Oh,
there you
And
go.
I
You're
want
putting it out
Melissa-
there.
Yes, definitely
I'm
put
loving
some
it.
I'm
thought into it.
manifesting it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
loving. We love manifesting.
And Melissa McCarthy is me now, because she's the only person I could imagine that could live these stories in the way they need to be
well, has she got the
interpreted.
book?
Can you get to her? I mean,
We'll
goodness me.
we'll
I
make
can't
sure.
get
We'll
to
make
her.
sure that gets sent
Well,
to
we're
her.
gonna put it out
She's
there.
on there.
Absolutely
She's on the
will.
back. That's what it says on the board.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Who do I want to play me?
Well, we are
How
all
beautiful.
about manifesting, and,
You
and
can't
you
miss
really
the name,
are
guys.
an example also of just sort of like keeping on reinventing yourself, keeping on, moving forward, and well done. Thank you so much for coming
And
to our
change,
Back
don't be
Fence.
afraid of change, guys.
No, and everybody, thank you for listening,
Yeah.
and watch this on YouTube with
Yes.
that beautiful hair. Don't forget to rate and review. Now,
Yeah,
Di has
look
her
at
own
her.
rating system.
Oh,
We've got Claire, who's come across from South Australia. We like the 5 stars, but Di has her own star system.
Look, honestly, it was such a small book. It was so captivating. I really think you get 100 out of 5.
Yeehaw!
truly.
Stars.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like that.
there is so much in these pages, and Nicola again went back. She went back for
I
second.
reread it again
so-
this morning. I
Yeah,
laughed and
yeah.
laughed and laughed.
It's
so
really
thank
funny.
you, Claire, and
Yeah.
everyone, thank you for listening.
Loved
Ciao,
it.
ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.